Okay, welcome everybody to the weekly podcast, which is Tech Talks with the Founders. This is episode 6. We are flying through these episodes now. If you've missed any of the previous ones, obviously we talked everything cybersecurity, smart hospitals, IoT, and what it is, the vision behind even setting up a tech business. So this week, what we're going to be discussing with the co-founders, and those co-founders, for anyone new, and obviously is Tom. So Tom, wave your hand just in case.
Hi, everyone.
There we are. So Tom is the technical director and one of the founders. And we also have John. Wave your hand, John, for anyone new.
Hi, everybody.
Look at this. Look, see, he's got the guns out. He's got the t-shirt out. Summertime is
it's warm weather here today. Yeah.
Full effect. All right. So John is obviously one of the other co-founders, and he is our solution director. So as we said, every week we talk everything from business, tech, process mapping strategies. And so every week we're going to talk a deep dive into, well, we say deep dive. Our marketing lady has said no more than 15 minutes. So we deep dive as long as it doesn't go past 15 minutes. But we go into different things that, just on our hearts or things that we've been talking about. And one of the things I wanted to talk about today was Apple AirTags, GPS and Apple AirTags. And I'll tell you why this has come up. Obviously, this is one where clients have actually said, should I use Apple tags or should I use your GPS solution? And I think it's really good because sometimes you can say something to a client and can truly believe that you're just trying to say it to sell something, right? Rather than actually which is the best solution. So we're going to deep dive into that and the pros and cons of Apple AirTags and GPS tracking if you have a commercial scenario. So we're going to go into that, but also the world of, what is UWB, ultra wideband technology? What does that look like for the future? What are the possibilities? Is that something that we're going to introduce here at everywhere? So we start before we get into the questions. Obviously, everybody knows about GPS, all right? So we know about the world of GPS. And if you had a car, I don't know if everyone remember before, it was all integrated into your car, these sat navs. You had the TomTom, massive thing that would sit on top of your dashboard and you'd follow that, right? So we had sat navs, and really sat navs is a technology that utilized GPS in terms of obviously the platform's background. So you position where you are, so GPS positions where you are, and sat-nav was really going, okay, we need to take that a little bit further. We're going to add maps. So you can see where you are on a map, and then you can go from point A to point B, okay? But then all of a sudden, we had this technology, and all of a sudden in 2001, Apple releases Apple AirTags. Now, I don't know how that falls in line with Apple's strategy, okay? But maybe it was just another marketing ploy. But obviously, they then released that. And this is what I really wanted to get into. Because we'll go into the technology and I'll let you guys explain it, because that's what it's all about, is Tech Talks with the founders. But obviously, they're utilizing this technology and, the capacity that they have of billions of these devices now, of iPhones, to be able to track where your other devices are. So let's just really get into this. Before we start, should we talk about, in terms of the questions, what is UWB? What is UWB? So ultra wideband technology, if that's the right. What is that? Who wants to answer that?
Can I go first? Yeah, no. So ultra wideband, it's a low power technology protocol that we can use to track equipment very accurately down to potentially 10 to 30 centimeters. So it's quite a difference from your typical Bluetooth tracking equipment, tracking solutions. So we see the capabilities of this new technology that's coming through, and it's going to be super interesting, especially in busy environments like in hospitals and things.
Okay, so you talked about Bluetooth. So what kind of accuracy am I getting then with, you talked about Bluetooth and we've got GPS and then you've got ultra wideband and you said down to 10 centimeters. That's what, literally, I could see that it's in my pocket, not even in this facility, but it's actually here. That's crazy. So what are you getting then with GPS then? Traditional GPS and... and things like that.
Well, I
Or
mean,
level
typically
navigation.
GPS is outside, so
Yeah.
GPS you're looking at about 2 to 3 meters. Um, but inside, this is where UWB really sort of kicks in because it is great for indoor asset tracking.
Oh,
It will
okay.
allow people to go in with their mobile phone and scan an area for things.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of different scenarios we can cover with it.
So on BLE, then, if we're looking at internal, because when I looked at AirTags, um,
Mm.
it looked like you could use it outside as well. Are you saying really it's only an indoor scenario?
Oh, no, it'll work outside as well, UWB. If it's so, for example, with the Apple product, as long as that AirTag is near another iPhone, it will pick it up
Yeah.
and it will show it on the Apple map. So yeah, the AirTags work indoors and outdoors. They work quite
Oh,
well
okay.
outside.
So if I've got, I'm already using BLE. Then, what's the level of accuracy on asset tracking on BLE?
You might be looking around, depending on the infrastructure you've got around you, you might be getting about 3 to 5 meters.
Oh, okay, so
Um,
still fairly accurate.
so yep. So it's great to you can tell that piece of equipment's in that area, in that room, if that's the level you need.
Yeah.
But what I see with UWB is actually it's the next level down. So perhaps you're in a theatre area and you need to scan for a really small piece of equipment. We might be able
Yeah.
to use UWB for that sort of last 30 centimeter tracking if we need it.
Oh, okay. So is Apple the creators of UWB, or is this something that's been around and Apple's just been the ones to be able to market it with their AirTags?
No, I
Yeah,
think
I believe it's an open standard. Sorry, go on, Tom. Yeah.
yeah, and I was just going to jump in. I suppose. I mean, UWB is a frequency range, so nobody owns it. But
Right.
Apple have obviously created this standard around their AirTags, and they're just sort of fundamentally different technologies. Whether we're talking, uh, say, fundamentally like Bluetooth and UWB, I guess, are similar in the way that kind of works with different sort of frequency and signal strength mapping in order to do the what we call triangulation to find a position, whereas GPS is using time distances in radio signals from satellites. So it's a slightly different implementation of the to get to the same outcome. So that's why it's the different frequency ranges that allow you to then become more accurate. And certainly in an environment where you've got more receivers where you can do that triangulation, the greater the accuracy is going to be. So you can get really good accuracy with BLE, but I think the advertised sort of standard range is like John said, like 2 to 3 meters.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So why then has Apple taken over this space? And I'm only hearing of Apple, but there might be other places. Is there something to do with the cost? Is there something to do with the, I don't know, security of it, or is it just underutilized technology that we all have to now embrace, like with everything else?
Well,
Yeah,
they're really
it's
low power, aren't they? And they're cheap devices to make, so they can be made in high volume. And like you say, Apple's just perhaps stolen a march on the rest of the market. I definitely
Yeah.
think UWB, certainly from conversations that we have, it's going to be it's going to come to that playing field as well. As John said, you've got there's a combination. So you've got GPS, you've got BLE, you've got UWB, all those different acronyms, depending on what your scenario is. But
Yeah.
Apple have sort of gone straight to that end game because they've got the infrastructure of their iPhones. Effectively, you think about how far away are you from an iPhone at any given moment. You're not very far away, especially in the
Yeah.
cities. You've got really high density, so it'd be like having if you're in a building like a hospital, it's like having an access point every few meters. You've got that level of density, so you can be really accurate.
Okay.
So Apple have done this because they've been able to piggyback off the back of their iPhone
1 billion
infrastructure.
users. That's
Well, there
crazy.
you go. Yeah.
1 billion. So what would I need then? So we talked about getting a level of accuracy, John, of 10 meters. What do I actually need then from an infrastructure standpoint to have this UWB working in a warehouse, a hospital, a hotel, whatever it may be? Big campuses, universities even. What
yeah.
infrastructure do I need to make this happen then?
Yeah, well, you need asset tags to start with that are UWB enabled. So there are
Yeah.
chip manufacturers out there now using these using this technology, UWB, not just Apple. So that's the first thing. Your asset tags need to be UWB enabled, and then you need some fixed infrastructure around your area to do the triangulation piece. So if you're trying to get down to 10 centimeters,
that sit in the ceiling.
That's it. Yeah, you could see it like an anchor or a receiver of some sort to pick up the beaconing from these tags, and then to relay that on, and then the triangulation happens. So yeah, there's a bit of fixed infrastructure that needs to go in. But...
okay. So I'm thinking, from my understanding, when you have BLE, you'd have, let's say for instance, a hospital. A hospital may have 800 access points that are BLE enabled. Okay, that allows you to track a bed, let's say, for instance. And you saying with that, you may get 5 meters to 3 meters level of accuracy. To get 10 centimeters of accuracy, would I need double the amount, treble the amount, 4 times the amount of access points, these UWB access points or whatever anchor points, to get that level of accuracy? Is that how it works?
In some of the key areas where you want that level of accuracy, yeah. But it might be only in, say, theatres that you want that accuracy, and therefore you need a greater density of UWB points in those areas, because you might not need 10 centimetres everywhere. So it's been pragmatic, really, with what the requirement is.
Okay, so this is very much then, this is not a one, because one of the questions I wanted to ask is, what is the pros and cons then of, UWB? And, for clients who are saying, do you know what, I'm going to track my device with a UWB device, which at the moment is an Apple AirTag, because it doesn't sound like it's a one size fit all. Because if I need that level of infrastructure, there's going to be a huge cost, I'm assuming, to that. So would that be one of the cons of UWB at the moment? Unless you're obviously Apple and you've got 1 billion users, which is 1/7 of the world's population, by the way. I just thought about that. That's crazy. But yeah, what would be the pros and cons of that then, or the cons of UWB?
I think you've just sort of touched on one point where you said, there are access points in buildings and specifically hospitals that are BLE enabled at the moment. And so one of your cons at the moment is that if you have if you've got a contract with a big infrastructure provider, then and you want to be able to leverage that, then BLE is Wi-Fi or BLE is your choice. UWB is probably on their roadmaps, but you're going to have to wait for those chipset, those manufacturers to add the UWB chipset into their access points. So there's going to be a roadmap for that, and so I sort of check on that. In terms of the Apple tags, I think it's worth just addressing that Apple have certainly not designed these tags with a business, corporate, or any kind of sort of commercial view in mind. It is meant to be able to track things like your keys, your bag, your own personal stuff. Our family uses it to track our dog, in case it runs away. So it's for those kind of things. And you've got 2 major cons with that. So if you are thinking, well, Apple might be the way to go, if I can dissuade you of that, because one, Apple is a closed ecosystem. So, any sort of asset management provider isn't going to be able to integrate into that. And the second key point is, even if you did want to use that, you can only share an Apple AirTag with 5 other members of your family. So you're really limited in scope. So you're relying on everybody having iPhones, and then you can only share that with 5 other people, which obviously, again, certainly in an NHS environment, but in a business environment, you've probably got all kinds of different people with all kinds of different roles that will need different levels of access to where that information is. And then obviously you've got all the security implications around that as well.
So from a usability, from a commercial setting, it's not really designed for that. It is very much designed for an individual user on that. But also then infrastructure, we're waiting for the likes of Cisco, Aruba, Ruckus, all these people to go, right, okay, now we're going to add UWB into our access points. So until that happens in, all these campuses, hospitals, hotels, or all have these big Wi-Fi providers, until that happens, we're still somewhat limited of this being fully rolled out as a new technology. Is that what I'm hearing? Oh, okay. So it sounds really good then, but it's just not the right season.
Yeah, there's, I think, there's a roadmap to this, and when those big providers will come along and support that, then I think we will see a shift to UWB, because the level of accuracy that you're going to get is going to be much greater. Hopefully, they're much lower powered chips. That being said, BLE is really coming along, and with the levels of accuracy and the low power capabilities, it's that's going to be, I think that's going to be a difficult one to beat when that happens. But in the meantime, if you did want to look at UWB, as John said, there are chipset manufacturers are starting to support UWB, and we could certainly look at doing something with a standalone UWB-based system where you've got some location anchors and set up some kind of trial.
Oh, okay. So what we're saying is, if there's a scenario, because one of the questions, as I close off this section on UWB is, one is everywhere looking at that as something to be able to add onto our platform, because we already do RFID, GPS, traditional GPS, and obviously BLE. Is UWB technology available? When will it be available? And the type of scenarios that you would use that, as you said, John, you talked about theatres. So if theatres, someone listens to this on LinkedIn and go, do you know what? I'd love to have 10 centimetres. And they're salivating on the idea that they can get 10 centimetres level of accuracy, because I can't find anything right now. Is that possible today then for us to, if someone calls up today and says, John, we'd like to do that, can we do that today? Or is that on the roadmap? And when on the roadmap is that?
Yeah. I mean, elements of it we are doing at the moment, and we're researching different chipset manufacturers and the capabilities they've got and how to integrate. So certainly, like demos and proof of concepts, we could quite easily set up in a room to get that level of accuracy. So yeah, that's all possible.
That's phenomenal. Right, so obviously we've had as deep as a dive we can have without getting in trouble from our marketing department on UWB. But is there anything else that you guys would like to add just on this topic?
And for me, I think it's just a case.
I think for my sort of.
I'm sorry, John. Keep an eye on what the tech news is coming out with here, because there are going to be advancements, and as like first movers come to market with this technology, I think we'll very quickly see what's the reality of things like accuracy in different locations in different buildings. So it's a little bit of a wait and see sort of how it evolves.
Excellent. John, you was about to say as well.
Yeah, I'd say once we've got some proof of concepts up and running, perhaps we have another 15 minutes on it and we can explain a bit more detail about what we're finding. So yeah, exciting times ahead with it.
Fantastic. So, do you know, I think these podcasts are really powerful. I'm just thinking about the amount of conversations I have with the heads of departments who look at tech on a day-to-day basis or deploying tech, but don't have the time to think about all the nuances of new things are coming in and how that could potentially benefit them. So I think, we're talking about, UWB for theatre managers. I think that's something that maybe we can look at, or if you'd like to know more information, obviously, get in contact and you could have a deep dive with John one-on-one or Tom one-on-one, just how that could look for your organization. Because technology is moving at such a rapid rate. We're seeing it all the time. It's hard to keep up. And if you're not in technology, how do you know? So hopefully, these videos give you an insight of what's coming, what the future's coming, what we can do, and the possibilities of that. But once again, we always say, if there's something that you'd like to know about, I was really intrigued in terms of the Apple tag and why clients were looking at that. So that's why I brought it up on this podcast. But if there's something that you'd like us to talk about, feel free to message us on LinkedIn or through YouTube or an email on the bottom of this description. But to be reminded, obviously, if you like this, please obviously like these videos. That lets us know that we're doing the right things. Obviously, subscribe so you get these every Wednesday, especially on YouTube, or just watch out for it on LinkedIn, where the two platforms that we release these videos. So I just want to say once again, thank you to the founders, Tom and John. And obviously, we look forward to seeing you guys next Wednesday for another episode of Tech Talks with the founders. Thank you, everyone. See you guys soon. Bye-bye.